Hey guys, so I haven't vlogged in a while, and basically that's because A, I am working on my summer projects because school is around the corner, 3 weeks away, and B, I didn't have any batteries for my camera, but now I do. I actually wanted to talk to you about the book I actually had to read for my summer project, and it's called Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass by himself. I was pretty surprised when I read this because I actually finished it today, started it yesterday, and in reality, even though it's a small book with only 11 chapters, in reality I probably would have finished it in a week, but I was pretty stuck on it. It's a really good book, and it's also surprising to me because I love hearing about history, but not so much the reading of the history. This is kind of new for me, so definitely very good book. I definitely recommend it to you if you're a history person and if you like Frederick Douglass or learning about the times of slavery. But what I wanted to share to you about is that my favorite part is probably the appendix, and not because it's at the end of the book, but the appendix is where it describes basically the theme of the book, like how hypocritical the whites were. They were very religious and very strong in their love for God, and yet they were stealing, slave trading, murdering, beating these slaves. And even Frederick Douglass says in this book, he says, even as I describe this to you now, words cannot describe how horrifying it was. And in the appendix there's actually a poem that describes the whole thing, describes how the whites were hypocritical back then. And it's a really good poem. I really like it. And I wanted to share that to you. Now bear with me here. I'm not very good at reading aloud, so I'll jump cut it a bit, but don't get mad at me. Oh, and another thing. Sorry if my voice sounds a little shaky. I'm kind of losing it. Hopefully I don't. So without further ado, the parody. Come saints and sinners, hear me tell how pious priests whip Jack and Nell, and women buy and children sell, and preach all sinners down to hell, and sing of heavenly reunion. They'll bleat and baa, donna like goats, gorge down black sheep, and strain at moats, array their backs with fine black coats, then seize their negroes by the throats, and choke for heavenly reunion. They'll church you if you sip a dram, and damn you if you steal a lamb. Yet rob old Tony, Doll, and Sam of human rights and bread and ham. Kidnappers' heavenly reunion. They'll loudly talk of Christ's rewards and bind his image with a cord, and scowl and swing and lash a board, and sell their brother in the Lord to handcuff heavenly reunion. They'll read and sing a sacred song, and pray a prayer both loud and long, and teach what's right and do what's wrong, hailing the brother, sister throng with words of heavenly reunion. We wonder how such saints can sing, or praise the Lord upon the wing, who roar and scowl and whip and sting, and to their slaves and men uncling, in guilty conscious union. They'll raise tobacco, corn and rye, and drive and thieve and cheat and lie, and lay up treasures in the sky by making switch and cowskin fly, in hope of heavenly reunion. They'll crack old Tony on the skull, and preach and roar like Bashan bull, or a braying ass of mischief full, then seize old Jacob by the wool, and pull for heavenly reunion. A roaring, ranting, sleek man-thief, who lived on mutton, veal, and beef, yet never would afford relief, needy sable sons of grief, was big with heavenly reunion. Love not the world, the preacher said, and winked his eye, and shook his head. He seized on Tom, Dick, and Ned, and cut short their meat, and clothes, and bread, yet still loved heavenly reunion. Another preacher whining spoke of one whose heart of sinners broke. He tied old Nanny to an oak, and drew the blood at every stroke, and prayed for heavenly reunion. To others opened their iron jaws, and waved their children stealing paws. There sat their children in goo gaws, by stinting Negroes, back and maws. They kept up heavenly reunion. All good from Jack, another takes, and entertains their flirts and rakes, who dress as sleek as glossy snakes, and cram their mouths with sweetened cakes. And this goes for Union. Strain at moat.